When I gently pushed back on an unethical policy, my manager sneered, "Maybe this company is just too fast-paced for sensitive snowflakes like you." He smirked as others laughed and added, "Better to weed out the weak now." I smiled, reported every violation to the labor board, and 2 months later, watched as inspectors marched into his office unannounced. He was gone before the week ended. I'm not the kind of guy who starts drama. I'm the type who shows up early, does what's expected, and goes home. No complaints. No fuss. That's how I was raised. Work hard. Keep your head down. Don't start trouble. But trouble found me anyway. I work in Chicago at a distribution center for a large electronics company. I won't name them, but you'd know them. We ship everything from gaming consoles to smart home tech. I've been there a few years. Long enough to know how things run. Long enough to see when something isn't right. At first, it was little things. Our breaks started getting shorter. One week, we had 2 15-minute breaks. Then suddenly it was one. Then it just disappeared. They never said, "You're not allowed to take breaks," but they stopped scheduling them. If you asked, you got this weird look, like you were lazy for even bringing it up. Then came the overtime rules. If you got close to hitting 40 hours, they'd tell you to clock out but finish what you were working on. I saw it happen to 2 guys in my section. One of them, Daryl, brought it up with a supervisor, and the next week he was moved to the cold dock, the part of the building where shipments go into refrigerated trucks. It's freezing back there. Even with gear, it sucks. Injuries were happening more too. One guy slipped and twisted his ankle, and our floor manager, Craig, literally said, "Just ice it. Don't fill out any paperwork. We're already on thin ice with the regionals." That's when I started paying attention. Craig, man. Craig is the kind of guy who talks over people and acts like he's the smartest person in the room. Always has a loud laugh, always makes a show out of motivating us with garbage like, "If you're not producing, you're wasting space." He'd walk up behind you while you were packing boxes and say stuff like, "Think faster. You're moving like my grandma." And yeah, he wore these tight shirts like he was trying to show off muscles that weren't really there. He'd slick his hair back and do this thing where he pointed both fingers at you like he was firing a gun. Super cringy. Anyway, once a week, we'd have these short team meetings in the break room before the day shift started. Just quick updates or new policy stuff. Most people barely paid attention. One morning, Craig came in smiling like he just got a promotion. He passed out these little papers with what he called a new efficiency plan. It was insane. They were cutting down on break time again. If you had a smoke break, you had to earn it by being 10% over your packing rate. If you took longer than 2 minutes in the bathroom, it counted as idle time. And they were bringing in a new system that would track us with little scanners on our lanyards. He said it was all about performance. That good workers had nothing to worry about. I waited until he finished talking, then raised my hand. I didn't say anything rude. I just said, "Isn't some of this stuff illegal? I thought we were required to have 2 15-minute breaks and a lunch under Illinois law." He looked right at me. Smirked. That little sideways grin that always made my skin crawl. Then he said, "Maybe this company is just too fast-paced for sensitive snowflakes like you." A few people laughed. Not because it was funny. Just because it was safer to laugh than not. Then Craig added, "Better to weed out the weak now than deal with complaints later." That's when I decided I was done playing along. What he didn't know was that I'd already started keeping notes. Dates. Times. Names. I had a folder at home with photos of schedules showing no breaks. Texts from coworkers talking about being told to work off the clock. Even a recording of Craig telling someone to keep their mouth shut about a back injury. I'd been on the fence about reporting. Scared of retaliation. But after that comment in the meeting, I wasn't scared anymore. I was pissed. I spent the next 2 weeks collecting more. Quietly. Carefully. I told no one, not even my closest friend at work, because if word got out and it got back to Craig, I'd be toast. I called the Illinois Department of Labor. Then OSHA. I filled out forms. Sent documents. Uploaded everything I had. I kept it professional and clean. Just the facts. Then I waited. Weeks passed. Things got worse. Craig started making examples out of people. He'd call someone out in front of everyone if their numbers were low. People were stressed. You could feel it. Like a heavy fog hanging over every shift. But then, one Monday morning, everything changed. We were about 15 minutes into our shift when two men and a woman walked into the building wearing jackets with official patches. They weren't smiling. They walked straight past the time clocks, right into Craig's office, and shut the door behind them. Everyone stopped what they were doing. You could feel the silence spread like wildfire. Craig didn't come out the rest of the day. Next morning, his office was empty. His nameplate was gone. His stuff had been cleared out. He was just gone. But that's not where the story ends. Not even close. Craig was gone. Just like that. One day he's strutting around the floor acting like he owns the place, the next he's vanished without a word. No email, no goodbye, no explanation. His office was cleared out overnight. It was like someone hit delete on him. At first, no one said anything. We just exchanged glances. You could see it on people's faces. Relief. Confusion. A little fear. No one dared say what we were all thinking. But then it got weird. The day after Craig disappeared, the general manager, his name was Preston, called us all into a mandatory meeting. He stood at the front with a stiff face, clearly reading off a script. We are currently undergoing an internal review due to recent compliance questions. There's nothing for anyone here to worry about if you've been following company policy. He made it sound like it was nothing. Just a review. But people started getting pulled into HR one by one. Quiet conversations. Nervous looks. Some people didn't come back after those meetings. Two packers from my shift, Carla and Mo, were just gone by the end of that week. Mo was vocal about being told to work off the clock. Carla was the one who used to write down her hours manually and compare them to her paycheck. She told me once her check came up short 3 times in 2 months. They disappeared fast. That's when I realized the company wasn't just cleaning up, they were trying to cover their ass. I kept my head down and didn't say a word. I still hadn't told anyone I was the one who reported everything. I didn't trust anyone enough. Then one day I came into work and noticed something off. My locker was open. Nothing was stolen, but the folder I kept with extra copies of my documentation, notes, emails, backup stuff, was gone. I had the original files at home, but it shook me up. HR said it was probably a mistake. Said maybe I left it unlocked. I knew I didn't. I double-checked that lock every single day. After that, weird stuff started happening. My scanner stopped working twice in 1 week. IT said it was a glitch, but no one else had the problem. My login credentials were reset without me asking. My time card was missing an entire day of work, just wiped out. I had to fight to get paid for it. That's when I knew someone suspected me. Maybe Craig said something before he was walked out. Maybe someone in management was digging into who tipped off the labor board. I don't know. But I was on their radar now. One night I was walking to my car, and I swear I saw someone sitting in a black sedan across the lot just watching the exit. I stopped and looked right at the car. It drove off without turning its lights on. Might have been nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. I didn't sleep well after that. A week later, someone from the state labor board called me. A quiet, serious woman named Cheryl. She asked if I'd be willing to give an official statement. Said they were preparing to file charges for labor violations and needed employee witnesses. I asked her straight up, will my name be on anything? She said no. Said it could stay confidential. But even hearing that, I hesitated. I had a job. I had bills. Rent. Health insurance. If they found out it was me. But then Cheryl said something I'll never forget. She said, "You're not the only one. You were just the first." I gave the statement. I gave everything I had. Emails. Photos. Call logs. I even wrote out a timeline. Dates. Names. Who said what? Who got hurt? Who got punished? I didn't hold back. After that, things moved fast. Inspectors came back. Not quietly this time. They talked to everyone. Set up in one of the conference rooms. Posted notices by the time clocks about employee rights. Brought paperwork. Clipboards. Authority. That's when the company started to panic. They brought in a crisis team. HR consultants. Legal reps. We had to sit through mandatory meetings about employee well-being and corporate responsibility. They offered us free counseling sessions through the company provider, like that would undo months of being abused. They were trying to get ahead of something. I could feel it. And then I saw Preston, the GM, storm out of the building one afternoon, yelling into his phone. 2 days later, his parking spot was empty. Another one gone. That's when people at work started whispering different names. Names like lawsuit. Class action. Retaliation. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Things should have gotten better after Preston left. That's what we all thought. But they didn't. After the second round of inspections, upper management brought in this new guy to stabilize operations. His name was Vince. He came from out of state, some big shot from their Dallas hub. Tall, sharp suits, clean cut. He spoke in polished phrases like rebuilding morale and fostering transparency. But it was all fake. You could tell by the way he looked at us like we were problems, not people. At first, Vince acted like he was here to listen. He held meetings with small groups, asked for feedback, even gave out free coffee cards. It was a show. A performance. Because 2 weeks later, things took a sharp turn. They introduced a new compliance manager named Renee. She was quiet, but strict. She wore a badge on a lanyard like a cop and carried a little notebook she wrote in constantly. She watched everything, every scan, every conversation, every movement on the floor. People started getting written up for the smallest things. Late by 1 minute? Write up. Bathroom break too long? Write up. Your scanner showed a gap in activity? Write up. Renee didn't care what had been going on before. She was there to clean house. And that's when something really messed up happened. There was this guy named Luis. Worked packing like me. Kept to himself, kind of shy, but reliable. Always hit his numbers. One day, Renee pulled him into the back office. He came out pale, shaking. Wouldn't tell us what happened, just said, "I need to go home." He never came back. I called him a few days later. At first, he didn't answer. When he finally picked up, he sounded like a different person. He told me they accused him of falsifying time entries. Showed him doctored reports, stuff he swore wasn't real. They gave him a choice, resign quietly or get fired for fraud. No severance. No unemployment. I believed him. I knew how this company worked. That's when I realized something else. This new cleanup wasn't about fixing things. It was about burying them. Making people disappear. Covering tracks before the storm hit. Because the storm was coming. Cheryl from the labor board called me again. This time she said, "We've officially opened a formal case." And we're coordinating with OSHA and the Wage and Hour Division. That's 3 government bodies, all circling the same building. I asked her, what happens now? She said, we're preparing subpoenas. That word hit me hard. Subpoenas meant court. It meant evidence. Depositions. Discovery. It meant they were serious. I kept quiet, but I watched. The company started quietly offering severance packages to longtime workers. Early exit opportunities, they called it. A few people took it. Most didn't trust it. I told them not to sign anything unless they had a lawyer look at it. A few listened. Most didn't. Then one day I found an envelope on my windshield. No return address. Just my name, printed in block letters. Inside were copies of emails. My emails. The ones I'd sent Cheryl. Screenshots of my complaints. One even had her name on it. It was a warning. Somebody inside knew. I didn't tell Cheryl. Not yet. I needed to know who was leaking. A few days later, I noticed something. Vince had a guy with him now. A silent, older man in a gray jacket who never spoke but always listened. Someone said he used to work internal risk for another company that went through a massive employee lawsuit. He was watching me. I'd catch him standing near the racks, pretending to look at inventory, but really just staring. Then one night, as I was closing my locker, he walked by and said, almost casually, "You've been here a long time, haven't you, Matt?" I nodded. "Yeah. 5 years." He smiled. "Loyalty's a valuable thing. Be ashamed to lose that." And then he walked away. That's when I knew they were trying to rattle me. Make me second guess. Maybe even get me to quit before anything went public. But I didn't quit. I started backing up everything I had, twice. Printed it, stored it off-site. Set up an email to send it all to Cheryl automatically if anything happened to me. I wasn't scared anymore. I was getting ready. Because whatever was coming, I was going to be ready to burn it all down. It got worse before it got better. After that night with the envelope on my windshield, I changed my whole routine. I parked 2 blocks away. I stopped using my locker. I stopped talking to people at work unless I absolutely had to. I even started using a cheap burner phone for anything related to the case. And still, they found new ways to push me. I came into work one morning and my badge didn't work. Just flashed red at the scanner. I had to wait 20 minutes for security to let me in, and when I asked HR about it, they claimed it was a technical issue. Next day? Same thing. Then I got pulled into a surprise meeting with Vince and that gray jacket guy. They said it was a routine performance review. Bullshit. Vince sat across from me smiling like he was doing me a favor. Gray jacket leaned against the wall like muscle. Vince said, "We've noticed a few inconsistencies in your recent scans. A few long idle periods, some mismatched entries. Now, we know you've been under stress with all these changes. We just want to give you the opportunity to correct things before they become problematic." I didn't say a word. Vince went on, "This isn't a disciplinary meeting. Not yet. But it could become one. Depending on your attitude." I looked at him, dead in the eye, and said, "Are you threatening me for doing my job?" Gray jacket pushed off the wall and took a step forward, like he was about to say something, but Vince held up a hand. Smiled. "No threats, Matt. Just a friendly conversation." I walked out. Didn't sign anything. Didn't agree to anything. That night, I called Cheryl. Told her everything, about the envelope, the meeting, the performance review. She paused for a long time, then said, "I'm escalating this now." 2 days later, everything exploded. A local news crew showed up at the distribution center. Cameras, microphones, the whole deal. Somehow they got tipped off. Someone leaked details from the inspection reports. There was footage of Craig yelling at workers, testimony from ex-employees who got fired for reporting injuries, screenshots of altered timecards. The company tried to block the crew from entering the building. They failed. That afternoon, every single one of us got an email from corporate. Due to recent events, operations will be temporarily suspended pending internal review. Employees will be compensated during this pause. Please await further instructions. People were stunned. We stood around in the break room like it was the last day of school. No one knew what to do. Some were happy. Some were scared. A few started crying. Then someone asked the question I was dreading, who blew the whistle? I kept my mouth shut. Just shook my head like everyone else. But I could feel a few eyes on me. People remembered I was the one who questioned Craig at the beginning. Later that week, I got a call from Cheryl again. You might want to find a lawyer, she said. Why? I asked. Am I in trouble? No, she said, but your testimony triggered a class action suit. We're moving forward. And if you're willing, we'd like you to be the primary witness. I didn't answer right away. She added, you don't have to decide now. But everything you've documented. It's strong. Real strong. You're not just helping yourself anymore. You're helping a lot of people who didn't have a voice. That's when I realized this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice. I told her I'd think about it. But deep down, I already knew the answer. I was in it all the way. And I hadn't even gotten started. I said yes. I told Cheryl I'd be the main witness. And that's when everything changed. The labor board filed their case. OSHA filed their own. The Wage and Hour Division joined in with evidence of time theft and break violations going back over 3 years. I gave them my whole folder, copies, timestamps, even a flash drive with security footage one of the night shift guys gave me after he quit. It wasn't just Craig they were after anymore. It was everyone who looked the other way. Corporate. HR Preston. Even Vince. They tried to settle. Quietly. They offered payouts. NDAs. I got an email from some lawyer offering me a generous package if I signed away my right to speak publicly. I laughed when I read it. Then I sent it straight to Cheryl. The class action moved forward. 27 employees signed on. Names I hadn't even expected. People who'd been scared before. People who'd been fired. People who were still there, waiting to see what would happen. And when my name came out as the whistleblower? It was chaos. Half the people at work treated me like a hero. The other half looked at me like I was radioactive. The company called me in again, this time with a full legal team. They tried to claim I'd accessed private systems and violated security protocol. I told them I had documentation. I told them everything I reported was true, and they knew it. Then I walked out. I filed a retaliation complaint the same day. 2 weeks later, I was fired. They claimed it was for breach of conduct. No warning. No write-ups. Just gone. I didn't even fight it. I didn't have to. Because that same week, Cheryl called again. You might want to turn on the news. I did. There it was. Front page of the Tribune. Full story. Whistleblower exposes illegal labor practices at major Midwest tech distributor. Federal agencies launch investigation. CEO issues public apology. And right below that? Photos of Craig. Preston. Vince. Arrested. Charged. Indicted. Craig got hit the worst. Turns out he falsified multiple injury reports, threatened workers, and even changed payroll data himself. That's felony fraud and worker intimidation. He pled guilty. Got 2 years in federal prison. Preston was charged with negligence and obstruction. He knew about everything and buried complaints. He took a plea deal and lost his corporate license. Can't work in any management role again. Vince tried to play dumb. Claimed he was just following orders. But they found emails, ones he didn't know were recovered, from his personal account. He was the one who sent the envelope to my windshield. They proved it. He lost everything. Blacklisted from corporate work. His severance? Gone. His reputation? Toast. And Renee? She vanished. Corporate wouldn't even acknowledge she worked there. As for the company? They paid out millions in the settlement. Every single person who joined the lawsuit got a check. Some got back pay. Some got damages. A few got job offers from other places that saw the story and wanted to help. Me? I got more than money. I got a new job offer, HR investigator for a logistics firm. They read my statement and said they wanted someone like me to keep things honest. I accepted. I also got a public letter from the Department of Labor, commending me for my courage. They asked if I'd help train other whistleblowers. I said yes. I didn't do it for fame. I did it because someone had to. But here's the part no one saw coming. A few months later, I ran into Craig's ex-wife. She worked at a coffee shop downtown. I didn't recognize her at first, but she knew who I was. Said she wanted to buy me a drink. She told me something that made me pause. He used to talk about you. Said you were weak. Said you'd never make it. I laughed. Then she said, he lost everything. The job. The house. The savings. Even his new girlfriend left. You didn't just take him down at work. You took the mask off. I didn't say anything at first. Then I said, he did that to himself. And I walked out. So yeah. I got called a snowflake. I got laughed at. I got fired. But I stood my ground. And I watched every single one of them fall. Not because I yelled. Not because I fought dirty. But because I told the truth. And the truth was enough to bring the whole rotten thing down.